Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani and hope you had a great weekend. In the past week or so, counting the days, not necessarily sequentially, we've been talking about nothing but security. I guess we're going to continue the trend, but with a slight difference, because in the National Assembly, a bill has passed its first reading stage. And this is a bill that some consider controversial because it's a bill for the establishment of a national agency for the education, for the education, rehabilitation, de-radicalization, and integration of repentant insurgents in Nigeria. The backdrop to this is that the Army, this is against the report that the Army has actually been rehabilitating and, if you want, assimilating into the Army over about 1,000 former insurgents, shall we say. Now, this is a process that's been going on from 2016, but only in recent times that we're talking about, as recent as for the first reading of the bill to have been read on Thursday last, Senator Ibrahim Gaidam, that is an APC member from Yobe East, put forward this bill. And so our question on the program, because we've actually, before having this conversation, we've actually had people on the outskirts of it talk about how can you do a thing like that? How can you think of rehabilitating terrorists, insurgents, and trusting them in the Nigerian Army? Bringing them into the Nigerian Army, making them effectively Nigerian Army soldiers, to a lot of people, it's counterintuitive. And so the question today is the Army action of de-radicalizing and actually taking in repentant insurgents, is it really that counterintuitive? Of course, we'd like to hear from you at home. And the first of my guests this morning, my dear friend, Hassan Abdul Aziz Sani. In fact, I should be saying to you, Hassan, Happy New Year. It's been that long. Great to have you. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yori, and good morning, Nigeria.
Indeed. Now, Hassan, that really is the question. Is this counterintuitive? When we're talking about this before coming on, you wanted to look at it from the point of view of, is it counterproductive? I said, well, go ahead, but, go ahead and look at it from that point of view.
Either counterintuitive or counterproductive is a matter of semantics. And the issue about the issue raised by the senator representing Yobe State and the National Assembly, Alhaji Ibrahim Gaidam, the former governor, immediate former governor of Yobe State.
That's right.
To me, it was ill-judged, ill-thought out, and it should be ill-considered by all unbiased-minded Nigerians. He was a governor, immediate governor. What stopped him from creating the ministry when he was there as a governor? They said charity begins at home. If it is so logical to him, we have 3 tiers of governance. We have the federal, the state, and the local government. And I know very well that the issue he is raising now to create a ministry is not in exclusive list.
Well, it's an agency. It's a national agency.
Leave the agency.
I mean, this is not a Yobe State law.
Whatsoever agency.
This will be a law for Nigeria.
He has the right as a governor to do that.
Okay, at the state level. But does he really have that authority?
Let me remind you.
Any state have
let
the
me
authority?
remind you.
Okay.
Let me remind you.
Okay.
Yobe State happened to be one of the hotbeds of Boko Haram insurgency, right? And it's much more a misplaced of priority for a governor, a chief administrator of a state.
A former governor in this case.
A former governor, turned senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to come to National Assembly and be throwing out that there's a need for agency for Boko Haram. What is he called? What is he talking about? Is he talking about creating special ministry for them to do what?
The agency, and the title is, quite illuminative. The name, the proper formal name is, the bill seeks the establishment of a national agency for the educating, rehabilitation, de-radicalization and integration of repentant insurgents in Nigeria. Now, I said the army has been busy with this from 2016, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Just so we know.
Yes. A lot of agencies, a lot of government interventions were involved in the radicalization,
de-radicalization,
in the reabsorption,
yes,
in whatsoever, you understand, in IDP, you understand, a lot of government agencies. You can't even count all of them on a tip of your fingers, in the sense that most of the ministries, the parastatals, are involved in one thing or the other about the Northeast issue. It's a national issue. Why is somebody calling for duplication? Why for duplication?
I wonder if you could also consider, might this be something of a strategy in the campaign against insurgency in Nigeria?
It's not. It's never a strategy. It's never a strategy. Look, let me cite a quotation by one.
I mean, sir, what I'm saying is that you're a civilian. The army is a professional body. And so you're not really willing to give them any credit for their professional knowledge leading them in this direction.
Look, Ms. Ori, let us be frank to ourselves. In an issue like this, it's a national, Boko Haram is a national issue. It's a national problem. And everybody in Nigeria, in one way or the other, have one thing or the other to do with Boko Haram. You understand? And now, when somebody is calling for an agency specifically for Boko Haram.
Well, the way you say it for Boko Haram, I say it for the third time, it's actually an agency for the education, rehabilitation, de-radicalization, and integration of repentant insurgents.
The issue is this.
Repentant insurgents.
Of what? Repentant of Boko Haram. Boko Haram, repentance. Boko Haram, repentance. Not repentant criminals. Not repentant deviants in Nigeria. You understand?
Yes.
Specifically, everything
repentant,
revives around Boko Haram. You understand? Then now in Gombe State, there is a federal government agency handling that. You understand? Quite okay now. And some were now, ready for reabsorption into the society. And I heard over the television that some of them that were arrested are not even Boko Haram. You understand? When you are arresting criminals, you arrest even innocent people among them. You understand? Now, that particular setup, it was meant to differentiate between what? Between the grains and the chaff. When you differentiate them, the innocent ones were laid off. You understand? The ones that gave themselves up, surrendered, not the people that were caught at the fire lines.
Okay, prisoners of war.
You understand? Not prisoners of war. A prisoner of war is not a repentant. People that gave themselves up, that look, we are no longer interested in anything Boko Haram. We are the people that were subjected to this rehabilitation. You understand? And now ready for reabsorption to the society. But when people are saying something now, that there should be an agency, please, it seems we are going to have Boko Haram for life. We are not going to have Boko Haram for life. We are not going to have it for life. We want Boko Haram to go away.
Well, actually, I understand what you're saying, but Boko Haram, the name Boko Haram doesn't feature in this bill. Maybe that's the whole purpose. So that, whereas now, it might be, Boko Haram might be the focus, but if the bill actually properly called is the National Agency for the Education, Rehabilitation, and De-radicalization, as well as integration of repentant insurgents, there might be other resurgents that are not Boko Haram.
No.
No.
As far as we are concerned, as far as Northeast is concerned, as of today, the only insurgents we knew is Boko Haram. So whatsoever name you decide to give it, you understand, I don't see any justification for that.
So you think it is an as you started at the beginning, you think the,
Yes,
the whole scheme is ill-advised?
Ill-thought out by him. You know, it's very easy. What I'm seeing with our senators nowadays is that they have this issue of trying to have this cheap popularity. Cheap popularity. Even what government agencies are handling, you see them trying to bring it to the floor of the House, maybe to impress their constituencies or to impress themselves or whatsoever. We don't understand. You know, it is very easy for you to be generous when you have nothing to offer. It is very easy for you to be brave when the danger is far ahead from you. Unfortunately, Governor Ibrahim Gaidam was
former governor.
Former Ibrahim Gaidam was immediate former governor
Yes.
of Yobe State.
Yes.
Then, when he was in office for 8 years.
Why did he not have a
What
ministry?
stopped him from having an agency for Boko Haram?
He knows it would not be within the ambits of the law.
No.
Yes.
No. Let me
How
tell
can
you.
any state governor say, I've created an institute on my own loan sum?
You can create.
Look at the Amotekun whole affair.
This issue, let's not digress about either Amotekun
these
or
things
something.
must be
encompassed
focused within the law.
Let us have a focus on this issue.
Yes.
You see, this issue of having Boko Haram agency, you understand? Because let us call it a spade a spade. I can see you trying to give it a color. Don't give it a color. Call a spade a spade. You understand?
And the spade now is
The
that
man-
this is an agency
look.
to de-radicalize and integrate repentant insurgents into the army
And-
that the army itself has been working on from 2016.
Do you know what? Army are involved in this issue. National Commission for Refugees are involved in this issue. Northeast Commission are involved in this issue. Then tell me why somebody should wake up and be telling us that there should be an agency for Boko Haram. We are praying for Boko Haram to go. You know, what we are wishing now.
But they're not going to go because we asked them nicely.
The issue is
They're not going to go just because we asked them nicely.
Do you know what's happening in Nigeria?
What?
The problem we're having in Nigeria today is this. People are dying. People are getting killed unnecessarily. Our military, we are overstretched. You understand? And a lot of people, and some people, are now seeing industry in it.
One moment, please, and I'll come back to you to elaborate on the point if you want. But I understand we have a call. Brigadier General retired Godwin Alabi-Sama. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Yori.
Thank you for calling in. So our question is it really counterintuitive for the army, as it were, to be opening the doors?
Good morning. I've been trying to reach you for the past 100 years.
Thank you, General. Is it counterintuitive what the army is doing and what is going on now? The army we hear has been working on this from 2016, and now there's a bill. What's your thoughts?
Yori, the man you have there is... Yes, the man you have there is making sense.
Oh, don't listen to the howlback. It's because of the distance between us. Please, just keep on speaking, General.
Okay. Now, all right, Yori. Let me tell you quickly.
Sure.
What we need to talk about here, they are based on the premise. They are based on the premise that, number one, there is no agenda in this country. Number two, that there is pain somewhere. That's why you have insurgents. There is pain. Now, then the third one is that these people are Nigerians. All the insurgents are Nigerians. Having said that, it is important for us to allow the insurgents that have been captured to be de-radicalized. When they are de-radicalized, then when they are de-radicalized, then we will then need them as intelligence group. You don't need a lousy agency for it. That is stupid. What you need is like we did in Marine Commando during the Civil War. What we did, we captured prisoners of war, we de-radicalized them, as Igboro did that, and thereafter, they led us to where the others are. Today we're looking for Dapchi girls, then we're looking for Chibok girls. These people already know where they are. If they are loyal to Nigeria now, then they will lead the troops there. And I keep hearing you people talk about some leaders in Nigeria saying that the soldiers are doing their best. Soldiers and officers are not taught to do their best. You are taught to go to where you are sent and do what you are told. So the commander-in-chief needs to tell the officers, the chief, the service chief, what to do and what is the aim. They need to capture the entire Sambisa forest. But remember, these people are also Nigerians. They have pain. What is their pain? Even if you kill all of them, there is still that pain there. Let us remove that pain. How do we remove that pain? By making sure you people voted $1 billion to fight insurgency. That's about 300 billion naira as of today. So take 100 billion of that for peace and 200 billion of that to fight. So you will give condition. Now that we have de-radicalized these people, you will lead us to the rest of your people. Those who will come out in 1 month, they will get so much. Those who will come out in 3 months will get so much. Those who fail to come out by social time, the advance must start now. We cannot continue fighting for 10 years. The country is broke. You are borrowing money. You are buying new cars. You depleted the money in savings. Look, this problem about insurgency will not finish unless you use a new strategy. Read my book, The Tragedy of Victory.
General, one moment, General. One moment, General.
The situation. Yes.
Well, you started off by saying that my guest was making sense, but then
yes.
But you've added, you know, as it were, you've expanded on it. Now, what did you mean when you said at the top of your contribution, if there is no agenda?
Yes, agenda. Oh.
Yeah, and we're still connected.
Okay, good. Now, what I mean by agenda is this: if the government or whoever is in charge, which I know is the government of this country, if the government of this country has no agenda of either wiping out the entire Muslim in the area or the entire Christian in the area, or they do not have an agenda of putting insurgents all over the country, the agenda we are talking about here is that you look the other way when the house is burning on the left, and then you are by the river and you say there is no water to quench the fire. We have been fighting for 10 years, and this present government has been fighting for 6 years. These people are Nigerians. Let us treat them as Nigerians. They will have a pain. Pain talks. What is their pain? Those are the first thing you need to know. Unless you remove that pain, even if you kill all of them, the rest will still come out again because the pain remains in that area. The North will level itself. It is called an implode. It is what they cause for themselves that is happening. It's called feudal system. The elites have money. Every other person is broke. Almajiris are begging for money everywhere. Go to any part of Nigeria where you find beggars, they are from the north. It is an implode, and it will continue to happen, Yori.
You
This is
implied,
my submission on this.
General, you implied, one further clarification, you implied that if the army is instructed, they are trained to achieve their objective. Are you implying in there that they haven't got the right instruction yet, that if indeed they have been properly instructed, then this whole matter won't last 6 months?
Well, with the insurgency of Boko Haram, whichever of them, should not last more than 30 days. If you tell them to go and capture a town or capture Guazo, anywhere you tell them to go and capture, they will go and capture them. You don't need extra troops. You don't need extra weapons. Just tell them where to go. The commanders, I'll give you an example. If you are in Lagos, if you say they should go and capture Ibadan, for instance, by Friday next week and at 2 o'clock, if by Friday next week at 2 o'clock, that commander fails to capture that place, it's finished. It must be removed and somebody else will put there. So all of us saying that they must remove the service chief. The army will not fail if the government did not fail. It was when the Afghan government failed that they surrendered to the Nigerian troops. So what is there now is what did the federal government tell the service chiefs to do? What was their order? Where were they sent that they didn't go? What were they told to do and they didn't do? So to say that they are doing their best is not the right thing. You are not trained to do your best. You are trained to go to where you are sent and to do what you are told.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, General. So you are saying that this is a realistic strategy because people are afraid that can you trust former infidels, former insurgents? Can you really trust them? That seems to be the fear.
No, this is not a matter of trust now. This is not matter. The way you can get your trust is that these insurgents, they will be leading your troops to their former locations. They know Dapchi, they know Sambisa Forest, they know Chibok, they know where the girls have been kept. You have de-radicalized them. They are now loyal to the Nigerian government, and that is why they will lead the troops. If you read my book, The Tragedy of Victory, the Biafran soldiers that were de-radicalized, they led us straight to where the others were. That's why they surrendered to Nigerian, to Marine Commando. We did not defeat Biafra because we killed them. Okay. Biafrans were defeated mentally before they were defeated physically. And in this case, that is what you need to do. You have de-radicalized them. It does not need a lousy agency. That is stupid. Nobody will agree on any agency anywhere. This is something that can be done by the local commander or the local prison commander. And you de-radicalize them, and they lead your troops. They will lead your troops. You don't need task force.
The
you
National
need a battalion
Agency
or
for
a brigade
Education.
commanded by somebody. And with that, he knows his troops, and he's sent to somewhere, and he must capture that place that he has been sent to.
Thank you very much, General Alabi Isama. Thank you very, very much for contributing to the program. Okay, we'll go on a quick break now. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. We'll continue with our in-studio guests and, of course, your calls. Okay, welcome back. And that was quite a lengthy one from Brigadier General Godwin Alabi Isama, retired, a commander in the Nigerian Civil War, and he shared his, views on that. On the one hand, he was not against the whole concept of, integrating de-radicalized fighters from the other side, but he was quite harsh in his categorization of the National Agency for the Education, Rehabilitation, de-radicalization and integration of repentant insurgents in Nigeria. He called it rubbish, as a matter of fact. Well, Since then, we've been joined by Tony Ofoyeton. Mr. Ofoyeton is DG International Institute of Professional Security, and he's also a lawyer, and not to mention the fact that he's a keen observer of current affairs. Thank you very much for coming on, Tony.
Thank you, and I apologize for coming late.
You know, pleasure. Now, before you come in on it, maybe getting so that you get warm in it, the general, first of all, said that you were making a lot of sense, but then went on to explain. And when I had brought out what I had sort of understood to be the fear of most ordinary, perhaps non-professional people, which is they're fearful. You bring in traitors. You bring in, well, they see them as traitors. You bring in insurgents fighting against us. How can you trust them? And he said, it's not a matter of trust. These people are going to be in the front line. And then he said, being a Civil War commander himself, it was not an unknown strategy to soldiering. What would you now say?
Yeah. General Alabi made a very serious observation as a combatant officer at the front line during the Civil War of Nigeria. But one thing is very clear here. He made mention of one thing. If the intent is there,
if there is no agenda.
If there's no agenda. If the intent is there.
Yes.
You see, the issue is
if the intent is there to win the war against insurgents.
We are saying the same thing. You see, before, I knew, up till tomorrow, I'm still maintaining that stand, that General Muhammadu Buhari is very, very sincere in fighting insurgency in Northeast.
Why is it therefore so difficult?
Thank you. You see, no matter what, he's the president and commander-in-chief. He gives instruction. Let me take you down memory lane.
Well, in brief, because I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you.
During the inauguration, first inauguration of Mr. President, he made it frankly clear to everybody about his sincerity to fight Boko Haram in Northeast by saying all the military command, all the service chiefs should relocate to the scene of the crisis. That is Northeast. We had it. That was the roadmap. Any government that comes into power, the best way for you to know the roadmap of that government is to listen to the inaugural speech of Mr. President. He was very sincere about it.
Yeah, but critics have now been saying since then that the body language does not match what they perceive to have heard.
The issue is this. You see, this is something that anybody can see. He started the fight against insurgency very, very well, on a very good note. And the government succeeded in reducing Boko Haram to Borno. Only some skirmishes you see in Yobe and Adamawa. Okay. You understand? They succeeded in doing that.
I'm going to come back to you. Thank you very much. I'm going to come back to you because I must hear from Tony on this whole matter. This whole, as our people say, I think when they're joking on social media, how the fight started. You know, it was because the National Agency for the Education, Rehabilitation, De-radicalization, and Integration of Repentant Insurgents in Nigeria, a project that the Nigerian Army itself, we hear that by the way, the bill in the National Assembly, which has gone through its first reading, was submitted by Gaidam, former the immediate governor over in Borno, and that we want to know: is it really as counterintuitive as it sounds, or is it a genuine strategy? Now, it looks like half of the people considering the issue think that it's a stupid idea to bring in former terrorists to the army. Other half are seeing it as, if you knew enough, you'd know it's an excellent idea. What do you think?
Well, I think I want to start with General Isama's remark.
Okay.
Of course, I know he's an excellent soldier, somebody that understood the art of warfare very well. The only area I stand to differ a little is the fact that there is a clear understanding of what Biafrans were after during the Civil War. They wanted a nation of their own. And of course, if you could now look at it, juxtaposing with what we have on ground now, I've not been able to see anybody to tell me what clearly Boko Haram wants. Let's look at it from that angle. And if you now have the injection of religious indoctrination, now it becomes a taller order compared to all other agitations like freedom, political agitation, economic agitation, and the like. So you see, at that level of high power level of indoctrination that goes to the soul of a man, because it is near impossible to ask a man to move from a particular faith having gone through it for a long time.
Or ideology.
Or ideology. Now, that is one area that he must come to terms with. Now, of course, it is absolutely true.
Isn't that the de-radicalization part?
Now, let's look at it. It is absolutely true that there's nothing wrong in having repentant in quote. Now, repentant in quote has been what you call the leaders. They actually are in front. They more or less like the pointers.
They will be on the front line.
The pointers.
They will
yes.
be accessing
But
locations
in most
that
cases,
our boys
they
might not have been able to access on their
very
own.
well. But they are done covertly. They are not done with legislation. They are just basically part of military tactics. They are not subject to, legislation and the like. It's one of the many tactics of warfare.
You think that's why General Isama was saying that it's a rubbish idea?
It is not only rubbish, it's absolute rubbish. And, one thing we must understand is this. Politics and security, they are two quarreling brothers. Let me use that. They hardly come to terms because politics has its own philosophy and idea, and security has its own philosophy and idea. If you look at the bill very well, you will now see different arguments. Those that will say, how on earth, how do you even determine who is a repentant terrorist? At what point in time is it because he surrendered, or because you captured him, or because he told you that he is repentant? What gives you that impression that he is repentant? Now, don't forget that we also have moles. In every act of warfare, your adversary will plant moles right into you. So what happened in a situation where you have people that now come and say, I am repentant, and yet they are actually working for the other party?
And yet the army, the Nigerian army reportedly, has actually been absorbing repentant insurgents from 2016. And this whole bill is against the backdrop of 1,000 or so being worked on and being considered and to be absorbed into the army, which a lot of people, quite frankly, it leaves them livid, not just angry. It leaves them livid. But here we are. Why is the army? And then he said something else, in case you'd like to comment on that. If there is no agenda, which was cryptic to me.
Yes, in actual fact, that is just the absolute truth. The question is this: do we really intend to win this war? I gave you an example the other time when I was talking about international infiltration into domestic terrorism. I said that Nigerian government and security agencies should begin to ask questions. Why an international agency, non-governmental organization, will go and get a rented apartment for as much as 11 years rent in advance in a terrorist-prone area in the name of trying to see what is happening there? Now, the same thing here. Why would you be talking about establishing an agency for what we expect should end in just a few months? We're even praying that it should be months, not years.
The general said
Nigeria
that if there is no agenda, it shouldn't take more than 3 months to finish dealing with Boko Haram.
At all. In actual fact, you see, there are some bills that when you hear, you ask yourself a simple question. Are you sure that some of these people are not, sympathizers to the terrorists?
Oh dear. And I can tell you that, your colleague on set, Hassan Abdulaziz Sani, he was quite angry with the sponsor of the bill, APC's Yobe State East member, Senator Ibrahim Gaidam, the immediate governor, because, that's where we started from. So, what are we talking about?
Mr. Yori, no agenda by Mr. President to fight Boko Haram. Some people can decide to have their own agendas, which is commercial. And we all knew, staring us on our faces, commercial interest. The amount of money budgeted by government for Northeast is enough, is even more than enough to take care of the IDPs and whatsoever in the northeastern part of Nigeria. But what is very clear here, whatsoever you wanted to do, even within your clique, some people will create a kind of commercial interest into it. And that one will now frustrate your good aim to put an end to Boko Haram. Boko Haram is a menace. It's a problem to Northeast. What we have on our hands now, Mr. Yori, is asymmetric warfare. A war without front.
Yes.
Unlike civil war, we knew the front. The front lines are there, are demarcated. You know where to go.
This is not conventional
and
warfare.
where to go there.
Yes.
But this one is a non-conventional warfare.
Okay, one moment, sir. Mr. Adebayo in the UK, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Thanks for this program once again. One thing that is very clear, how do you define a repentant terrorist? I give you a very clear example. In the last 8 months in UK, one of the so-called terrorists that was actually being radicalized and all that killed 2 people on London Bridge. Just last month, another one stabbed somebody in Streatham here in the city of London. These are people that have been de-radicalized in the prison, released into the society to look at them and monitor them. And the retired general that called from Ilorin, the civil war is a complete different game. We are dealing with people that have been radicalized based on religion, which has taken their soul. You can imagine what those guys are saying. Some of them have been told that when they kill the so-called infidel, they will go to heaven. That is so massive. For the army to say they have de-radicalized some people and put them to fight is like a mad decision. No wonder the army cannot finish the war. These are the moles Boko Haram has planted in the Nigeria army, and that is why we are here. That is by design. Secondly, look at the problem in Aso Rock. The National Security Advisor and the President Chief of Staff. The President Chief of Staff has nothing to do with the military. Nigeria is a country where people claim they are professionals on what they know nothing about. How can Abba Kyari know more than a retired general in the army in security matters? Let us sit down and examine these things one after the other.
All right.
God bless you, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much, sir, for calling in. Mr. Adebayo in the UK there. Whose turn was it?
It's me. I think, some of these things are recipes. You can see them very obviously. And if you ask me, I would want to plead with the military to do a rethink, re-strategize in terms of this so-called repentant Boko Haram being clandestinely brought into the military. There is no way that, they will say that a peaceful home.
It is to remove the clandestine aspect of it that we're now proposing an agency. So that if the thing is backed by law, then you can't talk about clandestine anymore.
Look, the Yorubas will say a peaceful home is the home where the bastard is not grown yet. Look, as it is now, it is still curable. When you bring an agency, what you have done is that you have legalized terrorism. That is the implication. You have legalized terrorism to the extent that you can be a terrorist, and from terrorist, you move to repentant, and from repentant, you move to the army, and from the army, you can be anything. That is the danger in this whole thing.
And I saw my friend Hassan, do an imperceptible nod there. That, it seems that...
And these are things we must understand.
Mr. Yori, let me say it. Let me say it on my own, or in my own way. Look, you see, this issue is about strategies. And I've said it, even on air. I said, look, this issue of Boko Haram, I sympathize with the present governor of Borno State, the Governor Zulu, that said they should deploy 100,000 soldiers to finish the issue of Boko Haram. Yes, he said it with emotion. As a leader, he wanted it to be wiped out in the whole place. But Boko Haram is beyond that. This is a war with international connection. This is a war that is well organized by people that are enemies of Nigeria, with the Nigerian foot soldiers involved. Because there will never be a success on a country without an internal foot soldier, not a conventional soldier. I'm talking of insider. The insiders are people like Shekau, are people like the former Muhammad Yusuf and their followers. They were the people that gave them an inroad to come and invade our country. And these are our countrymen. But what is very clear here is a problem of intelligence. It's a problem of intelligence.
Okay. One moment, sir. Comrade Israel in Apapa. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. I thank you so much for this particular program you're anchoring. I want to talk something on that Boko Haram issue. Boko Haram have, just one of you said, we are supposed to know what are they really want in Nigeria. That's number one. Number two, which people are they killing at that Borno State or that particular northern area? Which tribe is that? Are they Christians or a particular tribe? Yes. The number three is Nigerians don't fight for the unity of this country. For example, the time of kidnappers South, kidnapping the oil companies, none of the Nigerian states tried to rise up against the leaders there, threatening the unity of the country. Right now, Boko Haram has come, and none of them has ever rose up against the leaders in the north, telling them this thing is in their domain. How did this Boko Haram came into about? Now it's also happening.
Comrade Israel, what do you think about absorbing them into the army after de-radicalizing them and provided they are repentant?
You cannot get people who don't have a focus. Are they trying to Islamize Nigeria? What is the aim before you call them repentant people? Did they surrender their guns? If they surrender their guns, then we'll know that, yes, they have surrendered.
Of course. I'm imagining, I might be wrong, I'm imagining that they are captives of the Nigerian army and they have now been de-radicalized. They have now become loyal to Nigeria. They are repentant. And so, as it was explained by a retired Brigadier General, you now put these people to lead you to where, all those crooks and crannies are.
Looking into that particular bill, it is like, hello?
Yes, we can hear you. That bill.
Like the same of Henceman's bill, trying to do a bill to give them cattle rank all over the state. You do a thing for the unity of Nigeria. Don't do a thing that will threaten the other tribes. When you do a thing that threatens other tribes, you are threatening the unity of this country. Now, if you go to the map of all the geopolitical zone, You watch that every geopolitical zone is working on their separations. Ask them what causes that. That is what we need to ask. They are keeping quiet. They are not talking of the unity. Rather, keep quiet. Leave federal government alone with the insurgents. That is how it is, which is not really wise.
Thank you very much for calling in, comrade. Appreciate your call. We'll make room for, in case we get other calls. You see, from this conversation, we're getting to know that, well, clearly those who are in charge can see their way clearly. But then, and I think I hasten to add that it was just the first reading. Whether this bill is going to fly or not, it was just the first reading.
It's insulting to even get to that first reading. No, it's annoying. It simply means, for some of us, it means, like he rightly said, as a senator, before you bring a bill, you should ask that cardinal question: what will be the impact on the nation, the entity called Nigeria? Not just, because at the end of the day, you are bringing a bill to protect those that are seen as a major threat to the nation. Do you know what it means? It's as good as saying I'm bringing a bill for repentant armed robbers. How do you feel? Armed robbers that have killed, now these are worse than armed robbers. You are talking of people that killed and wiped out families, villages, and the like. And as I speak now, I can only talk of maybe 2 or 3 cases that have gone to court for almost a decade that we are fighting war against terrorism. You are talking of this group of people. The government has not been able to utilize and justify itself in the judicial sector to justify the fact that, okay, we are working to make sure that those that are apprehended are actually dealt with. And it is those that are repented that we are dealing with. Now, if you have a group of people that are apprehended and are judicially dealt with, then you now have some group of people that you now know, okay, these people repented. No, we have a juxtaposition. It makes a lot of sense to some of us.
Mr. Adebayo from the UK said, how do you actually determine a repentant insurgent?
It is near impossible. It's a risky venture as far as I'm concerned.
So that's why Senator Ibrahim Gaidam, who is the sponsor of this particular bill, the APC senator from the Yobe East, after being the governor, and that's why we started off, and my friend Hassan was, he came out guns blazing.
No, what he said was that it's a commercial venture. And 100% I agree with him. Even the so-called bill is a commercial bill as far as some of us are concerned.
Louis in Enugu, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. This is Louis, by the grace of God,
Louis,
an apostle and Christ ambassador in Enugu.
All right. Good morning, Louis.
You see, the government of this world have its own method and system of doing some things. Because there are a lot of confused issues put together, which cannot be easily separated because of the nature of the government of the world, which you can bear with me most of the time when I preach. People tell me nobody is perfect. In other words, that imperfection must be having a very good work and big one among people who do not believe in perfection. So what I want to say now is that this issue we are talking about is a very careful one. Sometimes, somewhere, somebody said that the only language in Nigeria here is the violence. I mean, if you take this kind of a thing now, you now still arrive at that man's conclusion that the only language that people hear here is violence. When people are living honestly, nobody brings them to the board. People who are loyal, nobody recommends them. Nobody even gives them promotion. Nobody even gives them quarters to live. But the people who are violent are the people, even in politics. That's why most of the time I always say to people that the most wicked person among the contestants in politics wins elected post. And people are doubting with me.
Okay.
Because
I get your drift. I get your drift.
Ungodly, the more you take charge of things on planet Earth. The Satan told Jesus, bow down to me and I will give you this word.
Okay.
That is the thing. Thank you. It is part of the world government.
Thank you very much for calling in. And I think I first of all was a bit at sea, but I came to understand that he's saying that it looks like the violence, the wrongdoer is the person now being rewarded, even though we've said that it could be it could conceivably be a strategy, but then you guys actually now pointed out the matter of well, the different natures of the civil war, for example, and this war in terms of what are the objectives of the other side. In fact, a friend of mine, maybe parodying the idea, I'd say that I don't know why we haven't now arranged the same thing for Yahoo guys that are caught. Well. Why don't you now have an agency for them as well? And say,
Well, you see, this issue of people having lazy thoughts is not only limited to a particular geography. Let me remind you what happened when
in brief, please, because we're down to the wire.
The chairman of EFCC.
Yes.
When they clamped down on the Yahoo boys, the mothers came. They formed an association of Yahoo mothers to justify, to tell you this is a Nigerian thing. You see, the problem we'll have in this country is this. You see, let me tell you one thing. The problem we'll have in Nigeria is this. Immediately you begin to think, you begin to impute geography into Nigeria's problem, you will never get the solution.
Okay, I get your point. Thank you very much. Any closing thoughts? Because it doesn't look like APC Senator, Ibrahim Gaidam, former governor of Borno, it doesn't look like people are understanding his intention. Because as a patriot who was sworn to defend the Constitution, clearly he must have the right notions. But
no, I think even if the notions and the ideas are right, it is not a healthy bill on the long run. As it is now, until the government itself and the military itself make up their mind to win the war. The truth is, once they make up their mind to
win the war,
they will win.
Which is the point that Alabi Sama made.
They will win.
Alabi Sama made that point. Provided there is no quote-unquote agenda.
Once they
Boko
make up
Haram
their
shouldn't
mind
take us more than 3 months to be settled with. Oh, yeah. Well, we see if this particular bill that we talked about today, interesting caption that it has, all those, big grammar, but what it was saying was that National Agency for the Education, Rehabilitation, De-radicalization, and Integration of Repentant Insurgents in Nigeria.
How many people even remember that name?
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Many close.
Mr. Tony Ofoyeton, DG, International Institute of Professional Security, and Alhaji Hassan Abdul Aziz Sani, communications professional and indeed opinion molder. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your perspectives.
Thank you very much.
And also thanks to you out there for calling in and giving us your perspectives as well. That's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.